नमस्कार मंडळी, मी उल्का नगरकर, महाराष्ट्र मंडळ शिकागो 2021 ची अध्यक्ष. आज आपण सगळे इथे जमलेलो आहोत. आपल्याला जाणून घेण्यात इंटरेस्ट आहे. तर त्या आवडीच्या विषयावर आज आपल्याशी संवाद साधायला आलेल्या आहेत दीपा देशमुख. आणि दीपा या डायटिशियन आणि न्यूट्रिशनिस्ट आहेत आणि त्यांची ओळख करून द्यायचं काम मला आज मिळालेलं आहे. So Deepa is named as one of the top 10 dietitians in United States according to today's Dietitian magazine 2020. Deepa has established herself as one of the most influential practitioners in food-based solutions for healthy nutrition and various chronic diseases conditions. This is as a result of a unique background which includes training in food science and nutrition. Deepa is one of the only a handful of dietitians nationwide who are board certified in advanced diabetes management BCADM with certifications in diabetes care and education specialist and adult weight management. Deepa is credentialed in offering insulin pump training as well as diabetes self-management education for those living with diabetes. Many of her recommendations are based on principles of ancient Ayurvedic system of medicine, which focuses on healing and nourishing the body and mind through the consumption of wholesome foods. Her love for wholesome food is clearly apparent in her ability to create plant-based recipes that incorporate in season and natural ethnic ingredients into one's daily meal routine. She combines Eastern and Western nutritional principles in a remarkable way to achieve good health, gut health. Her protocols for digestive health has helped many patients regain their physical and mental health. So welcome Deepa. Please start session.
Okay. Thank you, Ulka, and for the invitation and really putting all the team for putting this seminar together. And welcome everybody. It's been a while that we all are meeting, still on Zoom, but hopefully that will change. But I hope everyone is doing well this evening. And today's topic is gut health equals mental health. And I decided to talk about this particular topic because when it comes to mental health, nobody addresses or nobody thinks about, oh, there may be something to do with gut health. It's that connection often goes unnoticed. And during COVID, the incidence of mental health has increased tremendously. Depression, anxiety, insomnia, feeling of overwhelmness or helplessness. These are some of the signs of mental health issues, and those increased obviously because of isolation and just the uncertainty that COVID brought upon us. But it also increased because a lot of people got into eating wrong foods, large quantities, and they just moved away from their daily routines and got into bad habits. The average weight gain during COVID is supposed to be 15 to 18 pounds, which is not something to be proud about. The number, because what happened during this time, alcohol consumption increased and lack of activity, so on and so forth. But it is what it is now. Here we are, right? We need to do something about it, because during COVID, what also became obvious was the people who got hit by it the most had some sort of chronic illnesses as an underlying condition. So weight gain leads to more chronic disease conditions, and so it's definitely worth talking about how to regain our health, how to get back on track. And but what happens is, if we are not where we are supposed to be, or if the mental health is not addressed, then people don't feel motivated to change. So I thought, I will first address the mental health and gut health issue and help you guys understand the relationship between how mental health or brain health is associated with our gut health or our digestive health. So just to get the idea going, I want to share a fact that we have more neurons or neurotransmitters in our digestive system than we have in our brain. Okay, which means that our gut has more ability, higher ability to sense things. That's why there is a saying that listen to your gut or gut feeling, because we feel things in our gut before our brain feels things. And this is a very interesting thing to understand, that our gut has more. That's why gut is considered as your second brain. And our digestive system or gut health really starts from our nose. That's why when we walk into a house, and if there's a nice smell of food coming, we immediately, our appetite goes up, or you start to feel hungry, or so it's very important to understand that connection as well, that when we talk about gut health or symptoms of gut health, don't just focus on your digestive tract, like your stomach or your intestine, but if you're having simple things like nosebleeds, or any issues with your nose, that's an indication. Or the same thing with your mouth, if you have any issues inside your mouth, that's an indication that there's something going on with your digestive system. Because like I said, our digestive system includes your mouth, nose, part of your nasal pathway, mouth, all the way down. So what happens is, when there is a dysbiosis, which means that when there is an imbalance of good and bad bacteria, which means that when there is a increased number of bad bacteria than good bacteria, it is called as dysbiosis. That is called imbalanced. So again, going back again to give you the context about this good and bad bacteria, we are made up of nothing but bacteria. Starting from the birth, that's our first exposure to the environment, and we are just like our DNA. We are passed on with certain kinds, certain number of microbiome or set of microbiome, and then it is evolved as our exposure to environment gets as we get exposed to environment as we grow. So we have 10 times more bacteria than blood cells. So that's how many bacteria we have. Okay, so it's a very powerful organ. It's a very powerful system, because our gut holds our immunity. 80% of our immunity is in our gut. When somebody is having an autoimmune condition, the first thing we should look at is what's his gut health, his or her gut health. Because like I said, 80% of our immune system is in our gut. So your gut is your second brain. So as you can see, gut holds strings to multiple systems in your body. So as your gut starts to deteriorate, we start feeling the symptoms. The symptoms could be as simple as, craving, or dry mouth, or burping, or feeling addicted to food or any kind of substance. The moment, I always tell people, the moment you start noticing that you cannot live without certain food, that's an indication that your food, that you're becoming addicted to some sort of taste or food. And that is indicating that your gut is not functioning right, because food was never the whole point of food was never to become addicted to food, but more as a source of fuel. Variety of other physical and mental conditions, such as anxiety, depression, feeling overwhelmed. Many times people say that, I just feel extremely overwhelmed as I go through my day. I always tell them, look at what you are eating, find out what you are eating, when you are eating, how much you are eating. It's really as simple as that, because once we fix those three components, how you feel is going to be directly associated with that. So other health conditions or other signs and symptoms that will indicate that there's dysbiosis or this imbalance of this gut bacteria going on in your system. Would be any kind of autoimmune disease, any kind of skin condition, stomach issues, acid reflux, constipation, diarrhea, gas, bloating. These are very common conditions, and what happens is over a period of time we tend to believe that, oh, it could be because I ate late, or it could be because I ate too much, or it could be because I'm getting old, or it could be oh, that's how it is. A lot of people get used to feeling sick in their stomach, and they just start to feel that, oh, that's how life is going to be, but it doesn't have to be that way. Other chronic conditions like weight gain or cholesterol issues or diabetes, those all can also have root in your digestive health. Arthritis, migraines. I mean, anything, any health condition that has itis associated with it is usually inflammatory. Inflammation happens in gut, and that's how powerful the gut is. And like I said, because what happened, because your gut holds all these systems, and the inflammation affect your gut health, slowly it starts to affect your mental health, because your digestive system, your gut, does talk to your brain. In fact, after we eat, it takes your brain 20 minutes to register that you have eaten something. So if you are eating too fast and feeling still hungry and going and getting extra serving of food, I would say stop doing that. Give your system, give your brain 20 minutes to register that you have eaten something. Wait for 20 to 25 minutes, drink glass of water, and see if you're still hungry. Chances are you will not be hungry. Okay, so because gut and digestive system, they need time to talk to each other. Okay, so what other factors affect our gut? Sleep, lack of sleep. Okay, it's a very vicious cycle actually. We do, if somebody is not sleeping well, it's going to affect their gut health, and if there is poor gut health, then they are not able to sleep. So it's almost it's like a chicken and egg type of situation. Nonetheless, what happens is lack of sleep affects your internal clock called circadian rhythm. We all, our body clock works with the clock of the sun. That's why, we should not be eating after the sunset is done. But that's not the environment we are living in. We have access to everything, all kinds of food, 24/7. But when this clock was built in our body, McDonald's did not exist. So I think that's why we have this mismatch here. And the environment has changed, the body clock hasn't changed. Uh, the cell phone use at night, whatever reason is keeping you awake, is going to affect your hormonal release, which again happens, part of it also happens in your gut health. Many people may not know that conversion of thyroid into T4 to T3 conversion, where that's the most absorbable form or usable form of thyroid, that conversion happens in your digestive system. So if you have any kind of thyroid issues, and if your gut health is not where it needs to be, your thyroid medication will not work. If your thyroid medication is not working, then you are not going to feel the energy, the mood, everything that your thyroid is supposed to do. Thus, it affects your mental health. So there are these small nuances that we need to take into account when we are discussing gut health. But anyway, the other factor that affects gut is environmental toxins. Okay, there are a lot of toxins in the air. Handling receipts, create some toxins, or our skin absorbs those toxins, and it affects our hormonal balance, or it affects our gut health as well. So keeping track of not getting exposed to the environmental toxins is also an important factor. Then the last but not the least, food. I mean, I can talk about food and gut health for hours, really, because it's so important. Our gut, in order to function properly, needs two kind of two components. One is called as probiotic. Those are those healthy microbiome or bacteria that I was talking about. And then we need prebiotic. Prebiotic is a type of fiber which is a food for probiotic. Okay, so it is extremely important that our diet contains right quantity, right type of prebiotic fiber. Lot of people take probiotic supplements, but taking the probiotic supplements is just not, supplement is just not enough, because in order for those bacteria, probiotic is basically you are ingesting healthy bacteria, healthy microbiome. But if you don't feed your probiotic with the right kind of fiber, then that probiotic is really not going to survive. We should be focusing more on prebiotic fiber, because once we start giving our body prebiotic fiber, the probiotic is just going to live on its own. We don't really even need the supplement for it. But it's a process, and the probiotic microbiome gets affected by inflammatory lifestyle factors, such as, let's talk about food: meat, dairy, allergens like gluten, sugar, artificial color, flavors, added oils, processed food, anything that usually is pre-packaged or is done for you, where you are just opening up the package and eating refined flours, pre-made parathas, and all the frozen snacks. Then they all contain lot of chemicals, lot of additives, lot of ingredients such as dough conditioners, or artificial color and flavor, salt, which is again very highly processed type of salt they put in, and extremely inflammatory oils. All these additives in food is going to kill the probiotic bacteria, which is your microbiome in your system. And once, like I said, once your microbiome starts to get affected, you are going to feel it in your brain. And then the hormones which keep us really sane, like serotonin, their production is going to get affected, and then that contributes to anxiety, and then some level of depression. Then we end up taking medication for it, and almost all the medications have side effects. There's I don't think there's any medication which has no side effects, really, except food. If you use food as medicine, it doesn't have side effect. So otherwise, all types of medications have side effect, which in turn are going to affect your gut health again. And then we get stuck in that cycle of poor mental health to poor gut health, and vice versa. So it's not only type of food that we are eating, but our overall system, or what kind of meal discipline we call it, one has, is also going to affect the gut health and mental health. So irregular eating habits or skipping meals. And when I say skipping meals, I don't mean fasting. Fasting is a subject in itself, but fasting is more systematic. There is more process to it. And but skipped meals is one day somebody is eating food at some, and the other day they are skipping. So lack of meal discipline, large quantities of food after too much gap between meals, or eating too fast, drinking carbonated drinks or soda or juice or alcohol with food. These are some of the inflammatory habits which are also going to affect the metabolism, which means breaking down of your food and absorption of your nutrients, because our system goes through a step-by-step process from the time we start chewing our food until it gets digested. And there are a lot of different kind of digestive enzymes which get released, which help us absorb some of the nutrients. But when we have inflammatory or toxic lifestyle habits, then the absorption is then the metabolism, which means breaking down of these nutrients, is going to affect it. Because again, in order to break down the nutrients, in order to digest your food, you need digestive enzymes and you need very strong microbiome. Gas, bloating, acid reflux is a sign that you don't have right kind of digestive enzymes. Later on, somebody asked me a question about what acid reflux is and what can be done, what foods help with acid reflux. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about what exactly GERD or acid reflux is. But nonetheless, if the food doesn't get broken down properly, which means if the food is not metabolized properly, the absorption of nutrient is going to get affected. If we don't absorb the nutrients, then we start to have deficiencies. The most common deficiencies associated, actually I shouldn't say most common. If your gut is not where it needs to be, all the nutrients are going to get affected when it comes to their absorption. Every second, every fraction of a second, basically in order for us to live, our cells need X number of nutrients, up to 90 nutrients every second, every fraction of a second. Just imagine, once you start becoming deficient in one kind of nutrient, then there are other nutrients which depend on that particular nutrient, then you are going to start becoming deficient in that. So eventually what happens is it starts to affect the hormonal balance, it starts to affect the pH of your body, and your digestive system starts to become more acidic. Okay, and what happens is then the lining of your digestive tract, it's called gut lining, starts to go through a wear and tear almost, and it should be intact like palm of my hand right now, but then it's going to start literally have starts to become shear, and the food or the particles which should not be crossing this barrier, it starts to those tiny molecules start to cross this barrier. This particular condition is called as leaky gut. And once you have leaky gut, then the molecules which should not be reaching your brain, they start to reach your brain, and that's when you start feeling addicted to certain things. This usually happens when diet is very high in dairy. I recently did a podcast episode on how addictive, why dairy is addictive. Okay, and we talked about lactose, particularly lactose sugar and the casomorphins, they are called in dairy as an addictive component of this phenomenon. So dairy has a molecule called casomorphins, and the name itself indicates that it has a morphine type of effect, which is very addictive. So when your brain starts to get affected because of leaky gut syndrome, you are going to have mental health issues. There is no doubt about it. As long as you are feeling that food, eating that food, you are going to feel fine. When you stop eating, you're going to feel depressed, and then there is a beginning and of emotional eating. Okay, so many times people feel, oh, I don't have willpower, and that's why I don't stick to the diet. Oh, I just can't do it because I don't think I can live without this, that, and else. And I said, no, you have to get to the root cause of your why you are eating what you are eating. And once we address the GI issues, you will start to feel better. So again, going back to food, what kind of food you eat, what time you eat, how much you eat is all going to affect your digestive health. Fried foods, or foods containing baking soda and baking powder, which is so commonly used in processed food, it's going to eventually lead to these gut issues of gut lining, and then indirectly starts to affect our mental health. Um, Most common nutrient deficiencies that exist among people who have uh, gut health issues and mental health issues are basically vitamin D3, magnesium, and B complex. Okay, these three nutrients are extremely good for our brain health, but they get affected by poor gut health because of, again, like I said, lack of absorption, lack of metabolism, and I mean poor metabolism and lack of absorption, but as well as supply. Sometimes we have a supply issue. If your diet is not, uh, if your diet is very high in processed food, then the processed food is not going to supply you with these micronutrients or antioxidants or polyphenols that the natural food contains. And then if you're not getting the required amount, then obviously there's a supply issue, and then of course and then you don't have anything to metabolize or to absorb. So nutritional deficiencies, usually we look at the supply issue, or is it an absorption issue. If somebody is taking supplements, a lot of people take supplements, but even then they show signs of a deficiency. Why is that? Why are you, some people say, oh my god, I eat so much, or I don't eat much, or I have so much weight, but in spite of that I feel constant hunger, or I feel tired, or mentally I feel exhausted. uh, One has to wonder that what is going on here. This person is definitely not deficient in calories, but what's happening in that situation, the mental fatigue, the mental anxiety is coming because the food that is being eaten is not nutrient dense. And so that's not fueling your brain properly, that's not fueling your gut properly. And then if gut is not supplying right kind of nutrients to your brain, then we are dealing with mental health issues. So going forward with food, the other inflammatory factors which affect your gut, like I said, dairy being one, but meat and eggs, anytime animal products are a major factor or major component of your diet, you are going to have digestive health issues, because the after meat is digested in our system, it it releases or it creates some inflammatory residue. Okay, and inflammation is like this slow burn. You may not feel it, you may not see it immediately, but it's there. And if there is a right trigger uh, for it, then it's going to show up, and you will have some sign and symptom of some type of inflammatory condition, gastritis, IBS, like I said, gas, bloating, acid reflux, arthritis. All these conditions, as I was mentioning, go back to inflammation. And we have to look at our diet and see what are some of the inflammatory factors. And meat, eggs, dairy, not only from the metabolism point of view, also think about what that animal eats and how the meat is produced affects the hormonal status of that animal. Okay, when people eat meat for protein or eat meat for iron or some sort of nutrients, where do you think the hormones are going? Yes, you are also passing those hormones into your body, and those hormones again affect your digestive system, and are going to have uh, effect on your how you feel mentally. I'm not trying to make everybody vegan or anything like that here, but giving you the facts about watch out that how meat is affected. It could be affecting your mental health. Watch out how much meat has sneaked into your diet slowly but surely over a period of time, and track your overall health with your meat consumption. Okay, another inflammatory dietary factor is sugar. Sugar causes very acidic environment. Very acidic environment causes inflammation. Sugar comes from variety of different forms, desserts, sugary drinks. Even if you are, artificially flavored, colored desserts are going to be a double whammy, because now you are getting other toxins along with sugar. Most of the sugar that is used in commercial food products is a GMO. GMO means genetically modified organism. What it means is the sugar, especially in United States, the sugar is produced is it's a beet sugar. They don't The sugar that we see is not from sugar cane, and it is GMO. What it does is GMO means they take a gene from fish which doesn't freeze under sub-zero temperatures, and they introduce that in some crops like soy, corn, uh, and other crops which they don't want to freeze during winter time. That is what is called as genetically modified organism crops, GMO crops. Sugar beets is one of those crops which are GMO. Okay, so more, and it's very cheap to produce, because now you have this crop growing during harsh winters, because it's GMO. They have been introduced a gene from the fish which can survive, like I said, under very 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 low temperatures in water. So GMO food definitely affects your gut lining. Remember the leaky gut? GMO food is one of the reason of a lot of gut health issues. Since the introduction of GMO, the incidences of digestive health conditions have gone up, and they have also noticed since then the mental health issues have also gone up. So if you're going to use sugar, look for non-GMO, sugar cane based sugar. It is going to be highly unlikely to find a commercially processed food product which uses non-GMO sugar, unless it says organic. Okay, so be mindful. The small little factors that sneak into our diet long term has a cumulative long term effect. Okay, so what food is pro gut? What helps our digestive system function well? So the food, basically, it's very simple: fruits, vegetables, beans, lentils, herbs and spices, intact grains like quinoa, buckwheat, millet, teff. If you're using wheat, then kamut meat or elmer type of wheat. So, and again, spices, but without oil. As Indians, Asians, we got really good handle on using the spices, but where we went wrong is when we add those spices in extremely hot oil. That's where we kill them. Okay, so if you are using like in Fordni or in Tadka, if you are using spices and adding it to smoking hot oil, pretty much most benefits of spices are gone, because at that point everything is just burnt. And that's why people say, oh, I feel acidic after eating spicy food. Don't blame the spice, blame the oil. Okay, you're feeling that acidic reflux or acid reflux because of the combination of excessive oil with spices at very high temperature. So if you're going to use spices, make sure you are not adding it to oil. cut down on added oil. Because like I said, that combination of spices and oil doesn't work well, and the oil itself has a lot of contributes to a lot of other health issues. So making sure that, like I said, you are eating beans, lentils. Try to eat beans and lentils with skin on, because beans, lentils, fruits and vegetable, when eaten with skin on, including potatoes, including cucumbers, including carrots, try to keep the skin of the vegetable and fruit on. For beans and lentils with skin on, like whole masoor, whole matki, whole moong, whole kala chana, whole urdachi dal, all those things with skin on is going to provide you with that prebiotic fiber that I was talking to you about to feed the probiotic bacteria. Okay, same thing with fruits. Make sure you are eating your pear or your apple with skin on. Of course, wash it really well, but try to eat as much skin of the vegetable and fruit as you can. Uh, the Indian vegetables like dorka and bhopra, a lot of people take the skin off. Please don't do that. Soak the vegetable in in water with baking soda for 10 minutes. Baking soda will help remove some of the chemicals and pesticides on it if the vegetable is not organic, and lightly steam that vegetable with skin on, and then use that in cooking, because skin has all the nutrients that we are looking for. Skin is the defense. It's like a defensive shield for the vegetable. Skin, the vegetables secrete all the nutrients in the skin to defend the environment. And what do? We take that and we throw that away. Same thing with potatoes, sweet potato. People eat potatoes and sweet potatoes without skin on. Skin is where everything is. I know one doctor, all he does is he just peels the skin of the fruits, and that's all he eat as like a side dish for his meal. If you see, he will have skin of the cucumber, skin of apples, pears, even part of lemon and orange. That may sound very extreme, but it works. He's almost 90 years old and runs marathon and does all kinds of things. So there's definitely a lot of nutrients in skin. Fermented foods like kombucha. Kombucha is a drink which is fermented, has probiotic in it, or kimchi. A lot of people eat kimchi, or sauerkraut, which has this live bacteria. But again, first you have to make sure that your overall lifestyle is pretty healthy and does not contain these inflammatory foods that we talked about, and then introduce this fermented food. Because if you have more bad bacteria than good bacteria in your system, then this fermented food or even taking probiotic is actually going to make your symptoms worse. That's why many of my patients who deal with digestive health issues, many times we start their supplements with a drop or dipping the tip of the toothpick in the probiotic powder and eating that tiny amount, because the good bacteria need to be introduced slowly over a period of time. So eating vitamin A rich foods. Okay, Ulka will share a link with you guys for I call it my GI Revive or Digestive Health Restore smoothie, which contains cooked carrots and pineapple and a little bit of ginger and turmeric, hemp seeds, so on and so forth. It is a pro-digest smoothie, you can call it, because of the vitamin A that you will get from carrots. But unlike the smoothies out there which are made with raw carrots, this one requires you to steam your carrots, because when your digestive system is not very strong, digesting raw vegetables is very difficult. And people usually end up complaining of gas and bloating and not feeling well after eating big salads or raw vegetables. So if somebody is having acute digestive distress like IBS or colitis or very severe diarrhea, I recommend them to start cooking their vegetables and start drinking this smoothie literally like half a teaspoon at a time. There's pineapple in it, and if you have very compromised digestive system, then I would recommend that you lightly steam this pineapple or lightly cook this pineapple as well, and combine that. Pineapple is going to help with digestion of the food because it contains a digestive enzymes, and the beta carotene vitamin A in carrot is going to help the lining of the gut that I was talking about earlier. So vitamin A rich foods include carrots and pumpkin and squashes, anything that is red and orange color from inside, any vegetable that is red and orange color in inside is going to be rich in vitamin A and beta carotene nutrients. So is it all doom and gloom if you have digestive issues or if you have mental health issues? Absolutely not. Because some of you may or may not know, but Ulka is a prime example of how taking control of one's diet and committing to it can improve health. 3 months ago, if you had met Ulka, she had, I don't even know how many symptoms and all kinds of issues, and she said, I'm committed this time, this is it, I'm going to do it. And she went from quality of life of 1 to quality of life to 10. And how she did it, somebody should interview her how she did it. She became creative with her food. She followed every single recommendations that I came up with. She was eating only 4 types of food, and she started with that, but she was feeling phenomenally well. And it's not like she was feeling deprived. She really enjoys her food, but it all comes down to committing to it and discipline and really understanding that food is medicine, and what can I say, really becoming mindful about it, because we all have to understand that we have to look at food as a source of energy and nourishment and not as addiction, really. And when we start changing our focus from, oh, I like this because of the taste, oh, it has to be tasty, it has to be tasty, we won't win this battle. We have to look at, we have to stop eating and we have to start nourishing, because nourished gut means nourished mind. So I am going to stop here and get into the questions.
Deepa, there are only 2 questions on YouTube. Do you want me to take those first and then we go to the chat box? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah,
okay,
that's fine.
So there's one question that is a 2-part question. My 3-month-old baby is having acid reflux. Can you guide me what should I eat and what I should avoid eating? What may be the reason of acid reflux in my baby? She said it's more than a month. I'm not taking any dairy products and baby is on medication for Metadin, but still is having acid reflux.
Okay, so it's good that she's not, I'm assuming she's breastfeeding. I don't know, we'll have to see what, this is a very unique, almost case study type of question, so little challenging for me to give a detailed answer, but I can give some high level answer. If the baby is exclusively breastfeeding, then starting the baby on talk to the doctor and get a right kind of infant probiotic for the baby, and again start with extremely tiny quantities. And she needs to look at her diet if she's breastfeeding. If the baby is on formula, that may contribute to acid reflux. So there are a variety of factors she will have to look at, and it may take more than a couple months for the acid reflux to go down if she had just started cutting down on dairy. But also look at other inflammatory foods or acid producing foods like gluten or meats or eggs or excessive fat in her diet.
She just said she's breastfeeding.
Yeah, so her diet needs to be looked at more carefully.
And there's one more question that says, doesn't skin, I'm assuming of the fruits and vegetables, give you gases? They are rich in fibers. Is that because you...
Exactly. So, like I was saying, that if you are experiencing gas after eating fiber, that means that your system is deficient in digestive enzymes. So it will be a good idea to start taking a comprehensive digestive enzyme, which is designed to digest carbohydrate, fat, and protein.
Those were the questions on YouTube, and now we have a few in our chat box. The first one is, how about acid reflux? Any way to avoid it, and what food will help relieve it?
Yes. So acid reflux, even though people feel that there is more acid in their system, in reality, acid reflux is an issue where you don't have right kind of acid in your system. Okay. So the one thing you can do is definitely going off of dairy and meat products and sugar. That's number one. Eating small frequent meals of cooked food instead of raw food, and starting again with the digestive enzyme and right kind of probiotic will be important.
There's one more question that says, for a working woman, making foods at home always is not possible. So what do you suggest?
I know it is challenging, and life has become very hectic. It is all, these are all right questions, but what we have to do is we have to sit down and say to ourselves, if going to the doctor, going through the drive-through to pick up prescription, going to from specialist to specialist when we get sick is not time saver either. Okay, so either we are going to pay right now or sometime in the future. These days, because of we have more frozen vegetables available, there are pre-chopped vegetables available. If we meal prep properly, if you get your family members to help you out a little bit, it is possible with little bit of plan, with quite a bit, I shouldn't say little bit, with bit of planning and combination of, like I said, the frozen vegetables, pre-chopped vegetables. Nowadays, you also get frozen different kind of beans and lentils. This is possible. It's not going to happen overnight. You have to start slowly. Start with one meal at a time. Get things rolling, and once you come up with 15-20 days of meal plan and recipes, then it's just matter of repeating those. And that doesn't mean that you cannot eat outside, but you have to look at the overall picture and say, hey, where do I stand in terms of nutrient density of my food?
Then I think there's a little bit of a chat about drinking tea. So somebody said they cannot start their day without tea. Right. And then if it's in moderation, it's okay. That was their discussion. The next question is, in Jewish culture, milk and fish does not mix. Is there any dietary basis for them?
It could be. I mean, all the ancient cultures have figured the science of food and food as medicine much better than the modern medicine, so to some extent, combining too many different foods like milk with fruit doesn't go well either, you know. But if you look at quite a few Indian desserts, those are all like milkshakes and stuff like that, combine fruit with milk. So I don't think any one particular habit or you can say tradition will get you in trouble. You have to look at the overall picture and see, hey, how my overall lifestyle is. If somebody is combining little bit of milk and fish, small quantity somewhere else, but their overall eating habits are pretty under control, then I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker. So you have to take these traditions in terms of context and follow them accordingly. Going back to that question or conversation about chai, and somebody said moderation. That moderation is very loose term. What is moderation? Eating dessert once a week is moderation if I have cancer. Eating once a month is moderation for me if I have cancer. I mean, how do we decide what moderation is? So that is something to think about.
Yeah. The next question is in Marathi. So दाण्याचं कूट करताना सालं ठेवायची ना?
Yes. जितकी सालं खाल तितकं तुम्ही जास्त चांगले राहाल.
Next question is yeast good for health?
Okay, it depends. There is nutritional yeast, which has a lot of B12 vitamins, which is good, which can be used for sprinkling. And then there is yeast that is used in baking or in fermentation. That sometimes a lot of people have allergy to yeast, especially if you have what is called as SIBO, is a digestive health condition, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. If you have that, then we tell people not to eat yeast from the baked goods.
There's a last question in the chat box. Is there any evidence-based scientific knowledge that correlates the Ayurvedic system of medicine with today's population?
Yeah, like I said, all the traditions and or the ancient cultures had a system of living, and the environment was much more controlled. And now that our environment has just lost track of everything, you know. So I think, or at least I look at ancient cultures and try to imitate their core message about living and balance as much as we could, you know. And that's all we can do at this point, because if you can't change this environment that we are living in, then we have to change ourselves, because I can't blame on environment all my life and say, oh no, because there is Starbucks at every corner, I feel like eating Starbucks. Oh, you know, this Indian store sells phenomenal samosas, so I have to go there every Sunday and get it. There are always going to be these temptations, but what we need to learn from cultures is how do we achieve that inner balance, or the balance, or discipline to some extent. Discipline is very important, and these cultures have shown us that good living equals having disciplined life.
There is a comment on YouTube. There's no question, but it just says, we lack hunger sometimes.
Like not feeling hungry?
I guess so, because that's all it says. We lack hunger sometimes. So I don't know what the question is, really.
Okay, so I'm assuming the listener is saying that they probably don't feel hungry. It really depends on what else is going on. Actually, eating less is always a good idea. We don't have to overstuff ourselves. We don't have to eat excess. We should never feel, oh my God, I ate so much after eating. That is a big, huge red flag. If you are not able to walk or do physical work for 20 minutes after eating a meal, and if you have a immediate desire to go and sit on the couch, that means that you have eaten in excess. Okay, so depending on what you mean by you lack hunger, if it is nausea or just, I guess my thought here is that if you feel that you have poor appetite or desire to eat, that is a sign of digestive health issue.
One more question on YouTube. Is IBS caused because of particular food? Would following particular diet cure IBS over time?
Yes, IBS is irritable bowel syndrome. Most common factors are food-based, gluten, dairy, inflammatory foods, and it can be addressed through food. But like I said, you will have to commit like Ulka did, because there is some discipline involved, there is some commitment involved, and there is some follow through involved for a while. It's not something that you do it for 1 week, 2 weeks. You have to do it for a few weeks, but then once you get it, you can almost cure IBS.
There's one more question in the chat box. Does age have anything to do with increasing weight or size?
Ideally, with age, we should go down. Okay, but age, definitely these days, it seems that older population is getting into trouble with weight gain, and that could be because of lack of activity. It could be hormonal changes. It could be hydration issue. It could be how they are managing stress, and again what they are eating. Sometimes as you age, it also depends on how well you are chewing your food. If you are having tooth issues, and if you are not chewing food, or if you are going only for soft food for whatever reason, then usually those people tend to eat food which is less fibrous, and lack of fiber means poor gut health, and that can have implications on your weight. I think
we have to cut short, yeah, because another session has to start. Same Zoom link we use. So I think Rashmi, vote of thanks. Sorry,
Yep.
dog barking.
So thank you, Deepa, for this very informative and interesting session. We learned a lot about how important it is to take care of our gut health so that we can take care of our mental health. I also would like to thank all the attendees who attended the session and asked very important questions today. And lastly, I would like to thank MMC 2021 team for organizing this wonderful session. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Deepa. Very nice.
My gosh. No, Ulka is not only has a key role in putting this presentation together, but a role model. And if you ever have doubts, how can I do it? I tell call Ulka.
Yeah, absolutely. I will love to help people regarding, like, to be very determined. I'm very determined this time. I have decided to take care of my own health. So yeah, I carry my own dabba everywhere, like to the parties and everywhere.
Yep.
I feel odd, but I don't feel, because like I said, I have decided myself that I have to take care of my gut health, and then later on mental health, as you said. So, yeah, thanks a lot, Deepa.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, and have a good night. And see you soon.